The San Antonio Spurs actually do have salary cap issues, but not the kind you may think, Spurs fans.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh- I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. I found an article by Pounding the Rock this morning that I thought was imperative that I shared with you because it shed some light of what exactly is happening with the Spurs salary cap, and there actually are some issues here that you might not be aware of. While I'm going over this video, drop a comment down below. Is this kind of surprise to you? And this kind of change your opinion of don't sign anybody, just go with what we got? Hit that thumbs up if you guys support the channel, and subscribe for more Spurs content. Spurs Nation here, Spurs family. Anyway, let's get into the article. Here we see the Spurs active roster and all their salaries. We've kind of gone over this a million times. We don't need to dig into this too much, and the link to this article will be in the comments below if you want to kind of look at what everybody's making. Victor Wembanyama's on there. Yes, he's not a member of the active roster yet. His cap hold, though, is identical to his projected salary that they have listed there, so he is included in this table since it's a foregone conclusion he will eventually end up on the roster over the next couple of weeks. 100% agree. The date for the Spurs to waive Zach Collins is also passed, so his salary next season is fully guaranteed. Pop has already mentioned Zach's going to start at the 5. No surprises there. That does give the Spurs an active roster of 11 players for a total of just under $92 million guaranteed salary. Okay, so far so good, right, Spurs fans? We do have some dead cap space. Good old Joshua Primo will still be on the books for next season with a cap hit of about $4.3 million. His third-year option was picked up before he was waived. Adding his cap would give us a guaranteed salary total of $96 million. Okay? We have to talk about the collective bargaining agreement, though, and this can get a little confusing, so I'm going to try to explain it and read off from here as easy as possible. The new CBA is the same as the previous CBA, which is a 90% of the team's salary cap. The difference is that in the previous CBA, teams were not required to reach that mark until the end of regular season. Let's elaborate on that a little bit. Teams must reach the minimum salary floor by the start of the regular season instead of the end. So before you had the number you had to hit before the end of the season, now you have to hit that before the season starts. Secondly, teams that do not reach the minimum salary floor by the start of the regular season will have to write a check to the NBA instead of the players. So what that means, if I'm reading this correctly and understand the new CBA correctly, is if you don't reach the minimum salary floor, instead of giving it to players on your team, you're now just writing a check to the NBA. So if you're like $20 million under the minimum salary floor, you're just giving money to the NBA. Okay. Finally, teams under the minimum salary floor by the start of the regular season will only receive half of their portion of the end of season tax distribution from the league's tax-paying teams. Starting in the 2024-25, the 24-25, I gotta stop saying 2000. Starting in the 24-25 season, these teams will not receive any of the end of tax season distribution from tax-paying teams. So that means loss of money if we're understanding that correctly. So where does that leave our Spurs? What does this all mean? In short, Spurs fans, the minimum salary floor next season will be $122 million. That means by the start of the season, you have to be paying in salary to your players at least $122 million. With the Spurs roughly at $96 million in guaranteed salary and 11 players in the active roster, the Spurs will need to spend at least $26 million when filling out the rest of the roster. We just can't sit here and say, okay, just save the money. The Spurs do need to spend money, or they're gonna lose on those tax distributions, and then they're gonna end up spending it anyway. If we stay at $96 million, if I'm reading all this correct, Spurs fans, and the minimum is $122, then they're just gonna cut a check to the NBA for $26 million, and that's it. I'd rather give that money to players and take a chance on them, and maybe there's a diamond in the rough, than just throw the money away, and that's what we'll be doing. So the Spurs do have to spend money. We have some relevant cap holds that could be signed, like Trey Jones, KBD, Sandro, Dom, Champagnie, etc. They do talk about Trey Jones, and I do think the Spurs are going to offer him a contract with this cap issue. There's a darn good chance signing Trey Jones to a contract that decreases in salary over time seems like the way to go, similar to what they did with Keldon Johnson. I agree, that would be great. While a contract of 4 years and $50 million may be a bit high for his market, maybe. A decreasing salary starting around $14 million next season and ending around $11 million would still be a great move for the Spurs long term. I agree. While I don't see Trey Jones as the franchise starting point guard for us, I do think he is a phenomenal backup and would love to have him in a backup role. The salary cap is going to continue to increase, so Jones will be making 6 to 7% of the overall salary cap towards the end of his contract. So KJ's cap hit goes down over the years. Trey Jones does. That gives us more cap space, and we're going to need that cap space for players like Victor Wembanyama coming up soon as his contract gets huger. And then we have some final thoughts from Pounding the Rock. Even after signing Jones to a front-loaded contract and signing Champagnie and Mamu to regular contracts, the Spurs would be well below the minimum salary floor with only one roster spot available. Agreeing with the Acapurdo, maybe? I don't know. We've talked about free agents that are on the market, and a lot of you are very lukewarm and not a big fan. And yes, I know Jakob's been here. As far as I can tell, we actually do have the ability to re-sign him, money-wise and contractually. We're not breaking any rules, so to speak. So if we have money we have to spend, if we need to spend around 20 million when it's all said and done, who would you rather bring back? Who out there for 20 million is available that you go, okay, bring him back? For me, Jakob's probably number one. He knows the system, gets along with the team. I know Zach is going to be the starting center as of right now, but if we bring bring Jakob Pertl back, I think that will give us a very solid 1-2 punch with Jakob Pertl and Zach Collins. And if there's an injury to one of them, we always got Charles Bassey. So those are our three centers. Because, as we said before, Wemby's going to play the 4. He's not going to play the 5. So I would be all on board bringing Jakob Pertl back to the reunion if the Spurs still have all this cap space left. I'd rather bring Jakob Pertl back and give him $20 million a year for the next 2 or 3 years, whatever it may be, or 4 years if we have to sign him a 4-year contract, than just throw the money away. That makes no sense whatsoever. So that's all I got, Spurs fans. Hopefully this made sense. If there's any takeaway, this is what it is. We need to spend money. The Spurs need to spend money. We can't be this far below the cap when the season starts. Season starts in, October 20th-ish? So there's that. Actually, a couple other things I want to touch base on real quick. I'm seeing Wemby's not going to play in the July 3rd and 5th game for the Summer League. I'm still going to call those. I haven't called Spurs basketball in quite some time, so I just want to hang out with you guys and watch the games and call them and just, see who's – maybe somebody will shock us during these games and play extremely well. There's also Devontae Graham news I'm very aware of. Not going to do a video on that. If he gets released by the Spurs, I don't think he will. It was a DWI charge, a DUI charge from last year. If he gets released from the Spurs, we'll certainly address it then. For the time being, I'd rather focus on more positive things with our Spurs moving forward. That's all I got. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. The weekend is almost here. The 4th of July is almost here. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, earphone users beware. Go Spurs, go!
And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal.